The Shadows of Serenity High. Chapter 1. Rumours and Whispers. The fluorescent lights of Serenity High buzzed softly overhead as students scuttled from one class to another. Jaxon, a tall, lanky sophomore with tousled hair, was in no rush. He preferred the moments in between, where the school stories lived and breathed. He paused by his locker, overhearing a pair of freshman girls talking. "Did you hear about the mirror in the drama storeroom?" the first girl, with raven black hair, asked. Her friend, a redhead with freckles, shivered. "Yeah, Carrie said she saw someone who wasn't there in its reflection." The black-haired girl nodded, like a shadow or something, but when she turned round, there was nothing. Jackson's ears pricked up. Urban legends had always fascinated him. Whether it was the ghost that supposedly roamed the third-floor bathroom or the janitor who was rumoured to be a former criminal, he had researched them all. However, this was the first he'd heard about a haunted mirror. His friend, Leo, approached him, breaking his train of thought. "Hey Jax, you look like you're onto something. What's the story, man?" Jaxon gestured to the gossiping freshman. "Haunted mirror in the drama room. Ever heard of it?" Leo chuckled. "That old story. Been around since my sister was here. She once dared me to look into it at night. No way was I doing that." "But is it true?" Jaxon pressed. Leo shrugged. "Who knows? But if you're thinking of checking it out, count me out. Some stories are best left as stories." But for Jaxon, that was an invitation. The bell rang, echoing through the corridors, pulling students into their classrooms. Jaxon was physically present in his classes, but his mind was elsewhere, unraveling the mystery of the shadowy figure trapped in the mirror. The day ended, and as the sun cast golden hues over the school, Jaxon decided he wasn't going to wait. He was going to see that mirror for himself tonight. Chapter 2. The Mirror's Secret. The drama storeroom was nestled at the back of the school's old auditorium, a room that smelled of sawdust, mothballs and forgotten memories. Few ventured here after school hours. The room was a haphazard collection of props, old costumes and discarded stage pieces. Jaxon sneaked in, using a key he'd borrowed from the janitor's office. The moment he entered, an unsettling stillness enveloped him. He took a deep breath, trying to shake off his unease, and started his search. Hidden beneath draped old curtains and behind an array of papier-mâché props, Jaxon finally spotted the mirror. Its frame was ornate, with patterns of intertwined ivy and roses, tarnished by age. The glass was smudged and cloudy, but still it held a mystical allure. Summoning his courage, he stepped closer, wiping the dust from the glass with the sleeve of his jacket. His reflection appeared, slightly distorted by the old paint. He stared deeply, half expecting and half hoping for something to appear. And then, just as he was about to dismiss the rumours as mere tales, he caught a fleeting movement. A shadow darted behind him in the reflection, just out of clear sight. Heart pounding, Jaxon spun round, but the storeroom was empty, just as it had been when he entered. His breaths came in shallow rasps. Was it just his imagination, a trick of the dim light? Lost in thought, Jaxon was jolted back to reality by the sound of the storeroom door creaking open. He quickly hid behind a tall prop, peeping out cautiously. To his surprise, it was Hannah, a quiet girl from his class who always seemed lost in her own world. She walked directly to the mirror, her fingers gently tracing its frame, a distant look in her eyes. She then took out an old photograph from her bag, placing it beside the mirror. The photograph, though faded, clearly showed a similar looking mirror with a young woman standing next to it, wearing an old-fashioned gown. Hannah's voice, barely above a whisper, filled the room. "I know you're there, Lillian." Before Jaxon could process what was happening, the overhead lights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Hannah's eyes widened in terror, and she began to retreat. Seizing the moment, Jaxon stepped out. "Hannah?" She jumped, her eyes meeting his. There was fear, but also recognition. "You saw it too, didn't you?" she said. Jaxon nodded, realizing that he wasn't alone in this mystery. The haunted mirror of Serenity High held a secret, and together, they were about to uncover it. Chapter 3. Mystery Girl. The silence in the storeroom was palpable. The old props and costumes seemed to lean in, listening to the unfolding drama between the two teens. Hannah slowly picked up the photograph, her fingers trembling slightly. This was my great-grandmother, Lillian. This mirror, it belonged to her. Jaxon leaned closer, studying the old photograph. The similarities between Hannah and Lillian were undeniable. The same deep-set eyes, the same wistful expression. "Why is her mirror here at the school?" Jaxon asked, his curiosity piqued. Hannah sighed, sitting down on an old wooden crate. The school was built on the grounds of her family's estate. It's said that Lillian adored the arts. She'd often host dance evenings and plays here. The mirror was one of her cherished possessions. After the mansion burned down, the surviving artifacts were incorporated into the school. And this storeroom is all that remains of the original structure. Jaxon took a minute to process the information. "So, the shadow in the mirror, you think it's Lillian?" Hannah hesitated. "I've always been drawn to the stories of my ancestors. Lillian's tale was the most tragic. It said she disappeared the night of a grand ball, never to be seen again. When I first heard the rumours about this mirror, I felt compelled to investigate. It's like something's calling out to me." Jaxon shivered, remembering the shadowy figure he'd seen. "But why now? Why are we seeing her?" "Maybe she has some unfinished business," Hannah said. "Or maybe she needs our help." Their shared discovery forged an unexpected bond between them. Two teens from different worlds brought together by a century-old mystery. As they continued to explore the storeroom, Jaxon stumbled upon an old journal, its pages yellowed with age. "Look, it's got Lillian's initials on it," he exclaimed, flipping it open to the first page. Hannah leaned in, her eyes scanning the delicate cursive writing. "It's her diary." The two exchanged glances, realizing they had just found a potential key to unraveling the enigma of the haunted mirror. Jaxon grinned. "It looks like we're going on a ghost hunt." Hannah smiled back, the weight of her family's legacy heavy on her shoulders, but with newfound hope in her heart. "Let's uncover Lillian's secret." Chapter 4. Midnight Investigations. The night was young when Hannah and Jaxon stood outside Serenity High, equipped with flashlights and Lillian's diary. They had decided that to truly unravel the mystery, they had to be in the storeroom at midnight, the time when Lillian was said to have vanished. Navigating through the school's darkened hallways felt eerie, and every creak of the old building sent chills down their spines. The familiar surroundings had transformed into a labyrinth of shadows. Once inside the storeroom, they set out a few candles, illuminating Lillian's portrait and the mirror. The duo began to read excerpts from her diary. "September 5th, 1895, Hannah began. "The preparations for the grand ball are underway. I feel a mixture of excitement and trepidation. There's a whisper amongst the maids about a jealous admirer. I hope it's just idle talk." Jackson's grip tightened on the diary as he read the next entry. "September 12th, 1895. Tonight is the ball. I'm wearing mother's sapphire necklace, but something feels amiss. The shadows seem longer, the whispers louder. If anything should happen to me, I hope someone finds this diary and knows the truth." The entries that followed were smudged, as if stained by tears. They hinted at secret rendezvous, a forbidden love, and a betrayal that would seal Lillian's fate. As the clock approached midnight, a gust of wind blew through the storeroom despite all windows being closed. The candles flickered, casting ghostly illuminations across the walls. Hannah and Jaxon clasped hands, a silent agreement passing between them to see this through. The clock struck 12. The storeroom was plunged into darkness as all the candles blew out simultaneously. When Jaxon managed to light one with a shaky hand, they were met with a breathtaking sight. The mirror no longer showed their reflections, but instead revealed a lavish ballroom. Ghostly figures twirled and danced, but at the centre was Lillian, wearing the sapphire necklace, forever trapped in her last dance. Hannah, tears streaming down her face, whispered, "We need to set her free." Jaxon nodded. "We will. Together." As the scene in the mirror faded, the weight of their mission settled heavily upon them. They had witnessed the ghostly remnants of Lillian's last moments. They were no longer just hunting for a ghost story. They were seeking justice for a soul trapped in time. Chapter 5. Echoes from the Past. The following days saw Hannah and Jaxon delving deeper into the diary, piecing together Lillian's tragic story. They spent hours at the town's local library, combing through old newspapers and historical records. A story from September 13th, 1895 stood out. The headline screamed, "Grand Blaze at Serenity Mansion, one missing." The article detailed the fire that engulfed the mansion during the ball. Though most guests escaped, Lillian was never found. Many assumed she had tragically perished in the fire, while some whispered about her running away with a secret lover. The diary, however, told a different story. "Dearest diary, tonight I will meet Thomas by the rose garden. He promises to whisk me away from all this, from Gregory's suffocating advances and the weight of my family expectations. Thomas is my sanctuary." Hannah sighed. It seems Lillian was in love with someone named Thomas, but who was Gregory? Jaxon, scanning another newspaper clipping, replied, "Here, Gregory Hawthorne to announce engagement to Lillian at Grand Ball. It looks like she was being pushed into a union she didn't want." A visit to the town's archives revealed letters exchanged between Lillian and Thomas. Their love story unfolded, secret meetings, whispered promises, and dreams of a future together. But the letters also hinted at the danger they faced. Gregory, enraged by Lillian's rejection and her secret affair, had threatened her more than once. Late one evening, Hannah made a startling discovery. A letter hidden within the pages of the diary, penned by Lillian on the night of the ball. "Dearest Thomas, I fear for my life tonight. Gregory has found out about us. I overheard his plans to lock me away. If I do not make it to our rendezvous, please know that my love for you is eternal." Tears welled up in Hannah's eyes as she read aloud. She never made it to Thomas, and I believe she never left that mansion. Jaxon held the sapphire necklace, which they had found wrapped in a cloth in the storeroom. She was betrayed by someone she trusted, locked away, and left to perish. They both looked at the hauntingly beautiful mirror, now understanding its significance. It wasn't just a relic from the past, it was a window into Lillian's final moments, her last desperate plea for rescue. Hannah clenched her fist. "We have to do something. We owe it to her memory." Jaxon nodded. "Let's set things right. We'll perform the ritual to release her spirit." The two felt the weight of their task, but also an unwavering determination. They were Serenity High's last hope in rectifying a century-old injustice. Chapter 6. Ritual of Release. Jaxon and Hannah began their research into old rituals and spells that could free trapped spirits. They pored over ancient books, took advice from paranormal experts, and even visited Mrs. Ellery, the town's reputed mystic. On a stormy afternoon inside Mrs. Ellery's incense-filled parlour, Hannah presented the sapphire necklace. This belonged to Lillian. We think it holds a connection to her spirit. Mrs. Ellery, her aged eyes sharp and clear, held the necklace up to the dim light. Ah, this carries heavy energy. The ritual you require is the ritual of release. It will bind Lillian's energy from the necklace and the mirror, setting her free. She provided them with the specifics: a circle of salt, candles to represent the elements, an incantation, and most importantly, the pure intention of setting Lillian free. The night of the ritual, the storm intensified. Rain lashed against the windows of the storeroom as Jaxon and Hannah set up. They formed a large circle with salt, placed the mirror and the necklace in its centre, and positioned candles at the cardinal points. Holding hands, they began the incantation. Spirit trapped, bound by time, hear our plea, hear the chime. By earth, fire, water and air, we release you from your despair. As they chanted, the mirror began to fog up, its surface rippling like water. The silhouette of Lillian, wearing her ball gown, appeared. Beside her, a menacing shadow, presumably Gregory, seemed to be holding her back. Hannah's voice trembled but grew louder. "Lillian, we're here to help you. Come towards us." The shadow of Gregory seemed to grow darker, more oppressive, but Lillian, with a look of determination, began to move closer to the front of the mirror. Jaxon shouted, "Now, Hannah, the final words. From binding chains we set you free, return to love, return to thee." A blinding light emanated from the mirror, and a gust of wind blew out the candles. The room was plunged into darkness. When they managed to light a candle, the mirror was clear, showing only their anxious reflections. The necklace, too, appeared to have lost its luster. The storm outside calmed, replaced by a tranquil silence. Hannah whispered teary-eyed, "Do you think we did it?" Before Jaxon could respond, a soft tune filled the air, a ballroom dance melody from a bygone era. And for a fleeting moment, they both saw Lillian in the mirror, dancing gracefully, smiling, and mouthing a silent "thank you" before fading away. The two teens sat, overwhelmed by what they had witnessed. Lillian's spirit, imprisoned for over a century, was finally free. As dawn began to break, casting a soft glow into the storeroom, Jaxon and Hannah realised they had not only freed a trapped spirit but had also forged an unbreakable bond between themselves, forever entwined by the shadows of Serenity High. Chapter 7. Unearthed Secrets. The school buzzed with whispers and rumours. News of the midnight ritual had somehow leaked, and while some students hailed Hannah and Jaxon as heroes, others dismissed it as mere theatrics. However, in the midst of all the school drama, an unexpected person approached the duo, Mr. Caldwell, the history teacher. He was an older gentleman, often overlooked due to his reserved nature, but held a wealth of knowledge about Serenity High and the town's past. "Meet me in the library after school," he whispered to them during lunch break. "There's something you need to see." Curiosity piqued, the duo found themselves amidst the old tomes and scrolls in the library's secluded section. Mr. Caldwell unveiled an aged map of the town, its details hinting at pathways and structures long forgotten. "You've only scratched the surface," he began, pointing to a spot marked on the map just behind where the school now stood. This was the location of the rose garden where Lillian and Thomas planned their rendezvous. Hannah's heart raced. "Do you think there's more to find?" Mr. Caldwell nodded. "The records indicate that there's a time capsule buried there by the town's founders, which includes some of Lillian's personal items. perhaps it can offer more clarity. With a mix of excitement and trepidation, Jaxon and Hannah set out that evening, equipped with metal detectors and shovels. The garden, now overgrown and wild, held an air of melancholy. Hours of searching led them to a spot where the metal detector beeped frenetically. They dug fervently and soon unearthed a rusted metal box. Inside, amidst old coins and trinkets, was a locket. Opening it revealed a picture of Lillian on one side and a young man, presumably Thomas, on the other. But what caught their attention was a folded letter protected over the years in a sealed pouch. The handwriting was Lillian's. "My dearest Thomas, if you're reading this, then I fear the worst has come to pass. Always know that my love for you is eternal. I leave this locket as a testament to our undying bond. Gregory may have power, but he cannot control our hearts. Always and forever, Lillian." As they held the letter, the wind seemed to carry soft whispers, echoes of a love story that time had almost forgotten. Realizing that this tale was bigger than just the two of them, Hannah and Jaxon, with Mr. Caldwell's help, decided to create a small museum piece within the school dedicated to Lillian, Thomas, and the rich history of Serenity High. It became a testament to the enduring power of love, and a reminder that even in the darkest corners of history, light can be found. The legacy of Lillian's story now lived on, not just as a whispered ghost tale, but as a celebrated chapter of Serenity High's history.